Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going over the DraftKings and FanDuel NFL slate picks for week number 8. For Sunday, we have 11 games for DraftKings. Some of these games, it's a bit tougher of a week, I'd say, but we got a lot of news throughout the week to make it a lot easier. We have some guys that you're probably going to want to plug into cash games right off the bat. So let's get started. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Last Sunday was great for DraftKings. See if we can keep it going. Showdowns this week weren't that good, but we got a nice slate tomorrow. We'll be covering all of them. So if you want to join us, you can visit the website, useprocess.net. Check out Twitter for updates. I'll have some more videos probably later tonight for prize picks wise. But starting off with the quarterback options, you have Jalen Hurts, only $8,300. You have no Josh Allen, no Mahomes on this slate, no Herbert. So it's a bit depleted in terms of the top-end quarterbacks. You just have Hurts and Murray. This Arizona-Minnesota game is definitely one where you might have some interest in. Should be a pretty high-scoring type of game. And then it just drops off until you get to Dak at 66, so $900 gap between Murray and Dak. Not that interested in Dak against the Bears. Tua gets a good matchup on the road against Detroit. He should have a good game. He's back last week, played pretty well, although he did get lucky. A couple of those passes, like probably 3 or 4 of them, should have been easily picked off by the Steelers, but they just weren't. Kirk Cousins at $6,100. He looks definitely a guy that you could look to if you're stacking up that game or stacking up the Viking side a bit. Geno Smith against the Giants. He's at home. He continues to play well. 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. Gives you some rushing upside as well. Gives you upside in just overall in GPPs and cash games. He's somebody that I'm looking at for if I'm going below 6,000. And you have Andy Dalton at 55, who coming off of just a crazy game, 4 touchdowns, 32 DraftKings points for him last week. He's gotten the starts over Winston, even though Winston is healthy now. Now we know Matt Ryan is not playing this week, or probably for the rest of the year. They're starting Sam Ehlinger, so keep that in mind. And you have, looking at other guys that are in the 5K range, you have Justin Fields coming off one of his best games, just overall fantasy-wise, with 24. Had a rushing touchdown, and had 82 rushing yards, also had 4 fumbles, but thankfully did not lose any of them. So he's in consideration. And then you have Marcus Mariota at 54 going up against the Panthers. Surprisingly, that he just hasn't been throwing a lot. Only thrown combined 27 times the last 2 games. So that's going to, at least he gives you rushing upside, but that's definitely not something you want to see for your quarterback. Just limits his overall passing touchdowns upside and just upside in general. And then you have Taylor Heineke at 52, who I think looks pretty solid going up against the Colts. They're obviously, things have been going bad for them, so they're kind of shifting gears, maybe looking ahead to the draft already. But he's 52, so he looks fine as a value guy. But right now, I'm putting in Andy Dalton. Think that you can pair him easily with Chris Olave, just with them not having, once again, Michael Thomas. Looks like he's not going to play. He's already been ruled out, and I believe Jarvis Landry's not been practicing at all either, and he's already been ruled out as well. So if you're looking at Olave, he's only 6K going up against the Raiders. This is also another game to stack up a little bit, so I think that stack is cheap, and Olave has just been a target machine. So with those guys missing games, 14 last week, he hasn't dropped under 15 fantasy points since week number 2. Over at running backs, top end, Derrick Henry looks awesome against the Texans. He's getting a ton of work on the ground, getting almost 30 touches a game. The last few weeks, he's gotten 30-plus touches. It's a tremendous matchup against the Texans. I like him more than McCaffrey against the Rams. Tougher matchup there. And yeah, Barkley at 81, he looks great as well. If I had to pick one between him and Henry, I would still lean Henry. Like those guys better than Taylor, who's not been good this year. For a guy that was taken number 1 overall in a lot of drafts, just hasn't produced at all. It just doesn't look the same type of guy. Josh Jacobs been crazy efficient last 3 weeks and just putting up crazy stat lines. Over 143 rushing yards in 3 straight weeks. Matchup is still good against the Saints, so another one to do a bring back on the Raiders side would be Josh Jacobs. You have Alvin Kamara at 71. There's some trade rumors swirling around him. He's still looking for his first touchdown of the season, but he's still putting up some good fantasy lines, and he's another guy that you can throw in here who's pretty affordable still and gives you upside. And then the 6K range, you have a lot of good value, starting with Kenneth Walker III. He had a long rushing touchdown in the closing minutes of the last game, but he was already had one touchdown. Just not getting too much work in the passing game, but 65 against the Giants defense will get you 20 plus touches on the ground, and it is a great matchup. And then we know that there's no Elliott. He might sit out for a couple weeks. Connor's out once again, so Benjamin, $6,000. He's going to get you a good amount of carries as well as some receptions. So we've got a lot of good options at running back this week. Put in Benjamin. You got to put in Tony Pollard against the Bears. I mean, he's going from like a 40-45% workload on his best weeks to 75-80+% of snaps, and we know how good Pollard is when he's given a bulk of the rushing carries, and he can also catch passes. So go with those two values in Benjamin and Pollard. Those guys look amazing. And then probably a week where you can go to 3 running backs, put one in the flex just with how many good options there are with like Josh Jacobs, Kamara, get up to Derrick Henry at 84. Wide receivers, you have Cooper Kupp, 96. This game is going to be a good one. I think I'm expecting to be a lower scoring defensive type of game, so might like Justin Jefferson for 500 less. Devontae Adams is questionable, but I expect he'll play. It's a decent matchup for just an overall, just should be kind of a higher scoring game, I'd say. So he's definitely in play. We know no Deebo Samuel against the Rams, so that would benefit Brandon Ayuk and company, but still not one of my favorite games to target. I like DeAndre Hopkins at only $7,400. We know Marquise Brown is still out. He got 14 targets in his first game back. Didn't have a touchdown, but 14 targets, over 100 yards. No Brown. AJ Green did not play at all. So it's just a spot where Hopkins is going to get a bulk of the targets, just like last year, and we know him and Murray have a great connection. So Olave, Hopkins. Other picks would be Jalen Waddle at only $6,700. He's super affordable. It's looking like a pretty clear-cut week on DraftKings, just guys that really stick out. Metcalf we'll see, game time decision, so keep an eye there. Lockett, game time decision. If those guys are out, or one of those guys are out, you're going to see Marquise Goodwin benefit. 6K range right here is Devontae Smith, 63, looks good. 5K range, Jacoby Myers, 56. He's been reliable pretty much every week, letting you 10 plus fantasy points. Other picks would be like Drake London, although they're throwing less. He's still somebody for tournaments you could consider. Allen Robinson finally had a good game last week with 6 targets. If you wanted to take a shot with him, that's reasonable. 48 for Mooney. George Pickens, been Kenny Pickett's favorite target so far in his couple starts. He's 47, although it's a very tough matchup against the Eagles defense. Like I mentioned, Goodwin at 44. If he starts, be great. Depending on the Metcalf and Lockett news. So, wide receiver, you still have a good amount of guys that stick out, but running back is still absolutely loaded this week, so it might be one where you get to, like I mentioned, 3 running backs. Over at the tight end spot, now also at wide receiver, you have 6K for Terry McLaurin, who's going to benefit just without having Wentz there. He had good connections with Heineke last year, and in Heineke's first start, he did get a touchdown, so like McLaurin a bit. Tight end wise, see if Waller's able to play. If not, you can look to Foster Moreau once again. Don't mind Kittle at 57. You can go with like Hawkinson at 49, looks decent. 39 for Freiermuth. I mean, he's just a guy that's going to get a good amount of targets. Short receptions, can possibly get some yards after the catch. Bellinger's out for the Giants, so you could see like Chris Myrick at 28 be more involved there. And then at the flex, like I mentioned, running back is loaded. I forgot about one guy to definitely hammer, and that's Deontay Foreman. There's not going to be Chuba Hubbard's out for this one, so you're probably going to get 3-down workload for Foreman once again, and he's a guy that will catch passes a bit, get you a good amount of work on the ground. The matchup's not the easiest on the ground against the Falcons, but the price tag is just, you normally don't get 53 for a guy that's going to be a 3-down workhorse. So Foreman, Benjamin, Pollard, go with some cheap running backs. If you wanted to go with some expensive running backs, I mean, best option would be Henry and Josh Jacobs. Those two stick out, and like Barkley. Kenneth Walker is 65. He still looks reasonable, but he's probably behind these three in my opinion. So that's it. And then defensive-wise, look to the Commanders against the Colts. They look good. You can go up a bit more for like the Giants if you wanted to against the Seahawks. You do have the Rams defense against the 49ers, the Jets against the Patriots, and how turnover prone they've been. So that's what I got for this week on DraftKings. Like the slate, lots of good options, especially at running back. That's it for DK. Let's go over to FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel, quarterback-wise, top end, once again, you have Hurts at 92, Murray, and then there's a big gap. Still like Hurts more than Murray for a K more. 7K range, you have Tua, 77. Look a little bit better on DraftKings, but FanDuel, you have extra salary to make it work. Winston is only 71. And then Dalton is 71 again, but Winston, obviously, he's not starting, so you can just kind of cross him out. Dak is cheap at only 72, so he's reasonable. Smith is 7K. Mariota, Dalton, those three look appealing. I just think that the Saints are going to put up points, that the Raiders are going to put up points. It's going to be a higher scoring game. So I'm putting in Dalton just because I want to pair him with Chris Olave, and it's pretty easy to do that. So once again, a wide receiver on FanDuel. Jefferson is in a better matchup than Kupp, so I lean Jefferson, but both guys are in play. I like Adams. You have Tyreek Hill there as well, but I like Adams for a couple hundred less, possibly go to Waddle instead. But Hopkins at that price tag in that matchup is somebody that I like, and we'll see if St. Brown is able to play or not. If not, then definitely look to Hockenson. Chris Olave, sub 7K for the amount of targets he gets. He's just one of my favorite plays, one of my favorite wide receivers of the week. DJ Moore had a good connection going with Walker last week, if that can continue. And then Dotson is still out, so you're going to look to McLaurin. Goodwin, depending on the news of the Seahawks wide receivers. Robinson is 56, Moore 56 as well. Just some values if you need them. But once again, on FanDuel, you're looking at the cheap running backs, in my opinion. Henry's 10K. It's a big price tag. Barkley and Jacobs are all 9K or more. So those three are still probably the best three running backs of the week. But, Walker at 84 on FanDuel, that's a fade. You have Kamara is only 78. He looks good. But I'm loading up on the valued running backs. Like Benjamin is 7K. He's going to get 3 down workhorse opportunities at times. He's going to split some work a little bit, but still going to get you carries as well as receptions. And Deontay Foreman at 64 for a guy that's going to play 3 down wise. And then, obviously, Tony Pollard. Going to get so much work in Pollard, obviously. So those are the 3 value running backs you want to plug in on both sides. That's what I'm going with. Over at tight end, once again, same type of deal over on DraftKings with like Kittle at 69 if you consider him, but Hockenson if there's no St. Brown. Like Ertz a little bit still at 6K, but Freiermuth 57 for the targets that he'll get. Goddard, they did struggle with drops in the previous week. And like value-wise, you can look to like Chris Myrick from the Giants. If you wanted to go with a guy that's going to have to step in and place a Bellinger. He's 46, so he's going to be a good guy to get into your lineups. And then last but not least, over at the defensive side, I like the Commanders for going up against Sam Ehlinger and the backup quarterback for the Colts. They are only $3,400 on FanDuel. I mean, super cheap. You can go up a little bit for the Giants against the Seahawks if you wanted to. Go up a little bit more for like the Rams possibly against the 49ers. And then if you wanted to go up more, Jets look good. Eagles obviously look great against the Steelers and Kenny Pickett. And yeah, that's it. So that's what I got for this one. It's pretty easy week, and once you kind of just plug in some of the guys that really stick out, but obviously you have a lot of other pivots you can make for tournaments, but this is what I'm looking at. I'm just building one lineup. So thanks for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I will see you all. Best of luck tomorrow, and I will see you all next time.